Silence is often misunderstood. People equate it with weakness, passivity, or a lack of confidence. But in reality, silence is one of the most powerful forces in life. It is within silence that true clarity emerges, where the mind sharpens, and where the greatest realizations take place. In a world that constantly demands our attention, where noise is celebrated and distractions are endless, the ability to remain silent becomes a rare strength. It is through silence that one discovers the ability to observe without judgment, to understand without interruption, and to connect with the deeper truths of existence. When we stay silent, we allow our senses to heighten. We notice things we would otherwise overlook. The world speaks in whispers. Through the rustling of leaves, the subtle shifts in people's expressions, and the emotions hidden behind their words. Those who embrace silence develop an awareness that others miss. They are not in a rush to respond, not in a hurry to prove themselves. Instead, they absorb, they learn, and they grow. This is why some of the wisest individuals often speak the least. They have mastered the art of listening, not just to others but to life itself. The modern world rewards those who speak the loudest, who push their opinions forward with force. But volume does not equate to value. Words spoken without thought are empty, while silence, when used with purpose, can be more powerful than any speech. It is in silence that ideas form, that emotions settle, and that true understanding takes root. It is not about suppressing one's voice, but rather about choosing when and how to use it effectively. Many people fear silence. They see it as a void, a discomfort to be filled. But those who embrace it understand that it is not an absence but a presence, an opportunity to connect with oneself. When we are constantly speaking, we leave no room for introspection. We become trapped in a cycle of reaction rather than thoughtful action. Silence gives us space to process, to reflect, and to make decisions with wisdom rather than impulse. Through silence, we cultivate patience. In a moment of frustration or anger, words often become weapons, but silence gives us a chance to pause, to see situations for what they truly are rather than reacting emotionally. It allows us to choose our battles wisely, to speak only when necessary, and to ensure that when we do speak, our words carry weight. It is this kind of restraint that leads to true influence and respect. Some of the greatest minds in history, philosophers, artists, leaders, understood the importance of silence. They knew that wisdom is not found in constant chatter, but in observation and contemplation. Great actors like Anthony Hopkins have spoken about the power of stillness, of allowing a moment to breathe rather than rushing to fill it. It is within the quiet pauses that the most profound expressions are felt. When you embrace silence, you do not chase after things desperately. Instead, you align yourself with the natural flow of life. Opportunities come to those who are patient enough to let them unfold rather than forcing them into existence. Everything you need will come to you when the time is right. You just have to be still enough to receive it. Most people believe that communication is about speaking, about making sure their voice is heard. But true communication begins with listening. In a world where everyone is eager to express their opinions, few take the time to absorb what is being said. Silence is often seen as a gap that needs to be filled. Yet those who stay silent and truly listen gain far more than those who constantly speak. They develop a deeper understanding of people, situations, and even themselves. Listening is not just about hearing words, it is about perceiving emotions, intentions, and the unspoken truths that lie beneath the surface. When we remain silent, we allow others to reveal themselves. People tend to fill silence with their thoughts, often exposing more than they realize. The more you listen, the more you begin to see beyond words. You notice the hesitation in someone's voice, the tension in their posture, the way their words don't always match their emotions. These are things that those who are always speaking tend to miss. They are too focused on what they want to say next, rather than understanding what is being said to them. Listening is an act of patience and discipline. It requires setting aside personal ego and the need to respond instantly. Often, when people are in conversation, they are not really listening. They are simply waiting for their turn to speak. They are crafting their reply while the other person is still talking, eager to interject with their own thoughts. But those who master silence understand that by truly listening, they gain an advantage. They absorb knowledge, they understand people's true motivations, and they see the bigger picture that others overlook. The best leaders, negotiators, and decision-makers are often those who speak the least and listen the most. They understand that words should be used with purpose, not wasted on meaningless chatter. They choose their moments carefully, ensuring that when they do speak, their words carry weight. This is why the quietest person in the room is often the most influential. Their silence makes others pay attention, and when they finally speak, their words command respect. In relationships, whether personal or professional, listening is the foundation of trust and connection. People feel valued when they are truly heard. They open up more, they feel understood, and they develop a sense of respect for the listener. On the other hand, when someone constantly interrupts, dismisses, or talks over others, they create distance. They may believe they are asserting dominance, but in reality, they are only pushing people away. Silence also teaches us to listen to ourselves. In moments of quiet, we become more in tune with our thoughts, emotions, and instincts. We begin to understand our own patterns, our reactions, and what truly matters to us. The more we practice listening to others, the more we develop the ability to listen to our own inner voice. A voice that is often drowned out by the noise of daily life. By embracing silence and listening, we align ourselves with the natural rhythm of life. We no longer feel the need to force situations or prove ourselves through endless words. Instead, we gain insight, patience, and a sense of timing. Everything falls into place when we understand that sometimes the most powerful response is simply to stay silent and observe. Life moves at its own pace, unfolding naturally like the seasons. Yet many people try to rush things, forcing outcomes before their time. They push, demand, and chase, believing that if they don't act immediately, they will lose their chance. But the truth is, everything happens when it is meant to, and patience is what allows life to bring the right things at the right time. Those who remain silent, who do not rush, understand that waiting is not wasted time. It is in the silence, in the stillness, that life aligns itself in ways that words and actions alone cannot achieve. Patience is not about doing nothing. It is about understanding the importance of timing. When we rush, we act out of fear. Fear of missing out, fear of being left behind, fear of losing control. But when we are patient, we act from a place of wisdom. We learn to recognize when it is time to move and when it is time to wait. A farmer does not pull at the roots of his crops to make them grow faster. He trusts that the seeds will sprout when the season is right. In the same way, everything we desire, success, knowledge, love, comes when we are ready for it, not when we force it. Silence plays a key role in developing patience. When we stay silent, we resist the urge to react impulsively. Instead of speaking in moments of anger or frustration, we take a breath. We allow emotions to settle, and in doing so we make decisions with clarity rather than regret. Many conflicts arise simply because people do not have the patience to pause. They feel the need to respond instantly, to defend themselves, to prove a point. But silence teaches us that not every situation requires an immediate reaction. Sometimes the best response is no response at all. Great minds throughout history have understood the power of patience and timing. Those who have achieved true success did not reach it through desperation or haste. They observed, they learned, and they waited for the right moment. Anthony Hopkins, for example, has spoken about how great performances come not from constant action, but from stillness, from allowing a scene to breathe, from knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. It is this same principle that applies to life. When we stop forcing things, they flow to us naturally. There is a quiet confidence in patience. When you no longer feel the need to rush or to prove yourself, you gain an inner strength that others notice. People who are always in a hurry, who cannot sit in silence, often appear restless, anxious, uncertain. But those who trust in the timing of life carry themselves differently. They move with purpose, not urgency. They speak with intention, not desperation. They know that what is meant for them will come, and that by waiting they will receive more than they ever could have grasped by force. Silence and patience go hand in hand. When you stay silent, you give life the space to unfold naturally. You become more in tune with the rhythm of things, seeing opportunities that others miss in their rush. You understand that every moment has its time, and that the best things in life are not chased but welcomed. Everything you seek is already on its way to you, if you can be still enough to let it arrive. Strength is often mistaken for loudness, for the ability to dominate conversations, to be the most visible, the most heard. But true strength lies in control. Control over one's words, one's emotions, and one's mind. Silence is not weakness. It is a discipline. A mastery over impulses that so many struggle to achieve. The ability to remain silent in moments when speaking feels necessary is a rare skill, one that builds resilience, focus, and an inner peace that cannot be shaken by external forces. When we stay silent, we learn to detach from the chaos around us. The world constantly tries to pull us in different directions, demanding reactions, drawing us into conflicts that serve no purpose. But those who embrace silence do not allow themselves to be easily disturbed. They do not waste energy on meaningless arguments or empty words. Instead, they conserve their strength, using it only when necessary. This kind of self-control gives them an advantage. While others exhaust themselves trying to prove a point, they remain grounded, steady, and unshaken. Silence also sharpens the mind. In moments of stillness, thoughts become clearer, distractions fade, and focus deepens. When a person is constantly speaking, they leave no room for introspection. Their mind is always occupied with forming responses, reacting to external stimuli, filling the space with noise. But those who remain silent develop a different kind of awareness. They see beyond the surface, noticing patterns, understanding unspoken emotions, and anticipating outcomes before they unfold. This heightened awareness makes them wiser, more strategic, and more prepared for whatever comes their way. Beyond the mental benefits, silence also strengthens the spirit. It teaches patience, humility, and the ability to endure discomfort without losing composure. Life does not always go as planned, and challenges will come. But those who have mastered silence do not break under pressure. They have trained themselves to remain calm, to observe without reacting, and to move through difficulties with grace. They understand that words spoken in frustration or fear often do more harm than good. By staying silent, they allow situations to reveal themselves fully before making a move, ensuring that every action is intentional rather than impulsive. Even in personal relationships, silence is a form of strength. When misunderstandings arise, the impulse is to speak, to defend oneself, to argue. But sometimes, silence is the most powerful response. It prevents unnecessary conflict, allowing emotions to settle and clarity to emerge. A person who can sit in silence rather than reacting immediately demonstrates a level of maturity and control that earns respect. They do not need to prove themselves through words, because their presence, their composure, speaks louder than anything they could say. Many great minds, artists and leaders have understood this. They know that true power is not in constant motion, but in the ability to pause, to wait, and to act only when the moment is right. Anthony Hopkins, known for his deep and compelling performances, has often spoken about the power of stillness in acting. The ability to hold a scene with silence, to let a moment breathe rather than filling it with unnecessary words. This same principle applies to life. Those who embrace silence do not force things. They let them unfold. They do not rush to be heard. They wait until their words carry meaning. In a world that values noise, choosing silence is an act of strength. It builds resilience, sharpens the mind, and cultivates an unshakable presence. Through silence, we gain control over ourselves, and with that control, everything else falls into place naturally. And we chase after things desperately. They seem to move further away. The more we try to control outcomes, the more life resists. But when we stay silent, when we let go of the urge to force things, we begin to see a different pattern. Things start coming to us naturally. It is not because we have stopped wanting them, but because we have aligned ourselves with the rhythm of life. Silence creates space for opportunities to find us, for the right people to enter our lives, for the answers we seek to reveal themselves without struggle. Many people spend their lives in constant pursuit of success, love, recognition. They believe that if they do not actively push, they will be left behind. But true manifestation does not come from chasing, it comes from allowing. When we stop speaking excessively, when we stop trying to control every detail, we enter a state of flow, where things unfold effortlessly. It is in stillness that we become receptive to what is already coming our way. Silence allows us to connect with intuition. When the mind is always occupied with noise, external voices, distractions, opinions, we lose touch with our inner guidance. We begin to doubt ourselves, seeking answers outside when they already exist within. But in moments of quiet, when we stop seeking, we begin to receive. The right thoughts, the right ideas, the right decisions become clear, not because we have forced them, but because we have allowed them to rise naturally from within. This is why the most successful people often appear calm and collected. They are not running after things, they are attracting them. They understand that desperation pushes things away, while stillness draws them in. They do not waste words trying to convince the world of their worth. Instead, their actions, their presence, their silence create an undeniable energy that pulls opportunities toward them. Great actors like Anthony Hopkins have spoken about the importance of stillness, not just in performance but in life. He has described how a powerful scene is not always about dramatic dialogue but about the space in between, the unspoken emotions that linger in silence. In the same way, life is not about filling every moment with action, but allowing space for things to unfold. When we stop speaking unnecessarily, when we stop forcing interactions, we create an energy of presence that naturally draws the right circumstances into our lives. People are often uncomfortable with silence because they equate it with inaction. But silence is not passive, it is active in its own way. It is the space where thoughts settle, where clarity emerges, where patience is tested. It is the foundation upon which great things are built. When we embrace silence, we become like magnets for the things we desire, not through force, but through alignment. Everything you seek is already moving toward you. The key is not to chase, not to force, but to remain still enough to receive. Let silence be your strength, and watch as life begins to bring you everything you once thought you had to run after. Throughout history, the most influential minds have understood the value of silence. They knew that true power does not come from speaking the most, but from knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. In a world where people are constantly trying to prove themselves, where opinions are shouted louder than ever, those who stay quiet often hold the greatest influence. They do not waste their energy on unnecessary words. Instead, they observe, absorb, and speak only when it truly matters. Their silence is not a sign of weakness but of control, wisdom, and presence. Great minds, whether in philosophy, leadership, or the arts, have embraced this principle. They understood that silence creates depth, that it gives space for thoughts to mature, for ideas to develop, and for people to truly listen when the moment comes to speak. The most respected leaders do not dominate conversations. They listen, they think, and when they do speak, their words carry weight because they are rare and deliberate. This is why their presence commands attention. When someone who is often silent finally speaks, the world listens. Anthony Hopkins, one of the most legendary actors of our time, has often spoken about the power of stillness. In acting, he has mastered the art of using silence to create tension, depth, and emotion. He understands that sometimes the most powerful moments on screen are not in the words spoken, but in the pauses, the looks, the quiet intensity between lines. This is not just a lesson for acting, it is a lesson for life. Those who fill every moment with words often dilute their impact, but those who allow space, who understand the weight of silence, create something far more powerful. In conversations, the person who speaks the least often holds the most influence. Why? Because silence makes people uncomfortable. It forces them to reveal more, to think deeper, to pay attention. A quiet person in a discussion is often the one who controls it, not by overpowering others with words, but by allowing them to expose their thoughts while they simply listen and observe. This is a skill few master, but those who do become unforgettable. Silence also builds mystery, and mystery commands respect. In a world where people constantly overshare, where every detail of life is put on display, those who remain quiet stand out. Their silence creates curiosity. Others want to know what they are thinking, what they have observed, what they are holding back. This is why some of the most powerful figures in history were those who spoke little but acted with great impact. They did not need to explain themselves because their actions spoke for them. There is a reason why moments of silence are used to honor great individuals, to show respect, to mark something meaningful. Silence carries weight. It has presence. It is often more powerful than any speech. This is why those who master it become forces to be reckoned with. They do not feel the need to prove their intelligence, their worth, or their knowledge with constant words. They let their presence, their actions, and their carefully chosen words do it for them. In the end, those who embrace silence find that they do not need to chase after recognition, validation, or influence. It all comes to them naturally. Their silence becomes their strength. Their presence becomes their power. And when they do choose to speak, their words move the world.